Us. Greetings all. How you going? Thanks for the wishes. Yeah, we had a great day yesterday. Nice relaxing day, and my wife and I came up to Brisbane. We stayed the night and had dinner with my son and his girl and my good buddy Oki, and here we are. My buddy Oki's an interesting fellow. He's actually Turkish, would you believe? Thanks. Oh, it was my birthday yesterday. But thanks, Mike. Oki's Turkish, but his name's Oki, right? And Mike, you'd be interested in this, Mike Clark. I was just talking about my good buddy Oki, and he came and joined us last night for, the birthday dinner. And the name Oki, even though it's spelt Occhi, not Oki, as in Okinawa, but Oki is not a Turkish name, and he was telling us that when he meets Turk, they don't believe that it's his name. I mean, he shows them his passport and driver's license and everything. But anyway, my good friend Necef Artan, if you ever listen to this, hi Necef. Necef's interesting too. She's a Kyokushin black belt. She's the only female that Sosai ever let live at Hombu. And she wrote that book, The Young Lions of Masoyama, which was a really good book. It was actually her master's thesis at university, and she lived in at Hombu for, I think, about 3 months or so, just so she could observe them, and wrote the book, The Young Lions of Masoyama, which Bobby Lowe used to sell for her. And anyway, she's Turkish as well. She's Australian, but Turkish heritage. And when I introduced her, he's going, no, that's not a Turkish name. And she found out that Oki, I knew, he comes from a very long line of wrestlers, Turkish wrestlers, as you know, are spectacularly good wrestlers. And if you mention Oki's name in Turkey in the wrestling fraternity, his wrestling roots go back generations. And what we traced his name back to be was there was a famous Japanese wrestler from Okinawa, and I think he used to fight under the name Okinawa, and Oki's dad was a real fan. So when Oki was born, he actually called him Oki, even though he didn't spell it the same as Okinawa Oki. He spelt it Occhi, but he was named after this Okinawan wrestler. So that's pretty. Clark, Paul Yinson, good to see you. Vin, Us, thank you. Fred, Marco. Hey, Chrissy, did you get that file? I just transferred another one to you, Chrissy. Hopefully you got a link to a download. Rochelle, Us, thanks for the wishes. Big G. Ronald, Vilianata, thank you, and healthy life. Thank you very much. Us, Raj, Kumar, I saw your message. Namaste, thank you. Dannebat. Hey, Brad. Brad Hanson, you see that name, Brad Hanson? Brad's a long-time Kyokushin lad. He and Dolph Lundgren actually fought on the same team. He and Brad Hanson was an Australian lightweight who was top of the game back in the early 80s, mid-80s, and he and Dolph Lundgren fought in the same state team. So he and Dolph Lundgren good buddies. O tanjoubi omedetou gozaimasu. Feliz cumpleaños. Cumpleaños. Buon compleanno. Feliz anniversario. Happy birthday. You got them all, didn't you, Tigray? Good on you. Thanks, man. Al, good to see you. But anyway, I mentioned Brad's name there because Brad was one of the primary proofreaders of the book. He and my sister has eyes like an eagle. She can spot a full stop wrong in a newspaper. And Brad's no different. So Brad and my sister Lou did all the really amazing proofreading to make the book as perfect as possible. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Hey, Jumpshed, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. Isn't that cool, Mike? Interesting story, I tell you. And he does come from a really solid line of Turkish wrestlers. Tony Palmieri, good. Thanks, man. Hey, Kenneth. Hope you're well down in Victoria now that they're opening up. Came through, good. Okay, Your Eyes Only, have a look. Tell me what you think. take a good look at it, Chrissy Dunn. Yeah, eternally for my wife reckons I look 10 years older with this beard. But I like to look in the mirror and pretend I'm Sean Connery at his peak. Probably not going to happen. Budi Santosa from Indonesia. Good to see you. Kenneth. Paul Kniep. Good. So anyway, here we are. And just a brief one today because I am in Brisbane. A couple of really interesting things. Yeah, looking forward to Budi. I'll be up in down allows me to. Ronald, on Monday 3 p.m. my time, so Monday this time next week. And touch wood, hopefully I have one of my students, a guy named Chris Bangay, come along. Chris is a phenom. He's probably mid-40s, but he's multiple times Australian motocross champion. He's about 6'5", strong as an ox, and he absorbs information like a sponge, and he'll go away and test it under pressure. And but anyway, very interesting lad. He's going to join me on Monday to do some good technique. So by all means, join us. Yeah, I still have hair. That's true. I'm growing it out. I said to my daughter today, I'm going to grow it down to my waist, and that way, if we ever wrestle, she can just grab it and pull it and smash me. But in my job, I'm not normally allowed to have a beard or long hair, so I'm just indulging myself. But anyway, and just a quick message to the Patreon family. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful, and it really has made a difference. And I'm happy to say now that this is all, the book's coming to a close. Yeah. Don't say that, Chris. I'll tear up as well. But anyway, Chris Dunn's my nephew. His mum, Chris Dunn's mum, joined me and we'll join my wife, my son, and myself and my other sister last night for our birthday dinner. So anyway, he's just mentioning my mum and dad, who I mentioned in the dedication to the book. And they were both alive, of course, in the last one. And you might remember, let me see if I can get it up, because you might remember that I mentioned in the book that this is like a bit of a dedication page. I'll see if I can show it to you at least. But that's a dedication page, and you see that's the list of people who are important who have passed away since I wrote the book last time. So of course I listed them not in any, the only order I listed them in is the order that they passed away. And so my dad, and then Masoyama, and then my mum, and then Mrs. Oyama, and then Jacques Sandalescu, and Bobby Lowe, Frank Everett, my instructor, Hiroshige Shihan, my instructor at Homburg, and John Blooming. So anyway, that's Chrissy's having a read of that. I got all teary-eyed. But anyway, yeah, I think I've sent Chris a copy of the book to have a look at. Exciting times, here we are. Literally yesterday I signed off on the book. Today, paid the deposit, 50% deposit, so I had to pull some serious funds together. But anyway, what I was saying about the Patreon family, how grateful I am to you. You've been very good. And now that the book, the hard work on the book is finished, I'll have more time to devote to you guys. So we'll get more serious about that finally too. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I think I'm at 798 subscribers, so 2 more and I'll hit 800, which is probably about 17,999,900, and 200 less than Joe Rogan. But anyway, Joe Rogan's good stuff. Can you hear this okay? Just give me a confirmation that the sound's coming through all right, because I'm having usually. So the deposit's paid today. The next step is that I actually get a physical book. I get a physical book from the printers. Very exciting. They'll be able to check it, make sure it's exactly as we want it, and I'll be able to bring it on here and show it to you. and then we're away with the printing. So it's very exciting. The other thing that we've done is created, with the help of my daughter, who's a graphic designer as well. Sounds good, thanks. Okay, if it's freezing sporadically, I'll have to see if I can do something about that as well. But my daughter's helped me tremendously with the design of the mailing box. So we're looking to create a unique box to mail it out in. Nothing too crazy, because it just adds to the cost, of course, but we'll make some nice, unique individual boxes for them, for the mailing box. Next is the website. So I've been working on the website. Please, again, be patient. I'm a one-man pony. What do they call it? One pony show. Is that what it is? Okay, a one-man band. I know I'm that much. But anyway, so the website, the goal, and I'm fairly certain it'll be good, if not earlier, is this time next week when I come on, I'll be able to go to the website and show you the website, and the website should be up to make orders for the book. So it's pretty exciting as well. So here we are. This is pretty cool because it's so nice to be here in this building on the very site of the fantastic Early Days Dojo. A one-man army, yeah, that one-trick pony. There you go. I'm getting all my metaphors mixed up. It's all that. I'm a one-trick pony, really a one-man band, one-man army, that's for sure. But I'm just going to show you a great photo that's in the book of the Brisbane dojo, which was right here at this site where I am now, except I'm up on the 13th floor. But this was the site of the dojo. Here we go. And this is where Wally Schnaubelt and Gary began their uchi-deshi career. This is a great this is a great photo from the dojo. And that dojo right there is right here where I am at the moment, except taken that beautiful historic building down and they've built a new high-rise accommodation. So it's nice to be able to see here. That's my good buddy, Mark Singh, in the middle. He was my first black belt student. And next to him with the short sleeves, the reason he has short sleeves is because that's One-Arm Eddie. He lost his arm in an accident. You can't see him there because it's on the other side, but I've mentioned him numerous times. And he and Mike Whitten got their black belts the next year. And that's interesting. I'll show you another little bit of history if I can somehow hold it up. That little girl there, see that? That's Gary O'Neill's sister, Christine. Now, Christine, I guess, would be, in her 40s now. How about that? And that girl behind her there, that's Dr. Gillian Farmer. Now, she was my first female black belt. She got a black belt in 94, got a second dan in 97. And she is the one who is now the head of the medical division for the United Nations. Yes, Big G, you remember that. Wasn't it fantastic? It was such an amazing dojo. And what an energy it had. We had Matsui came and stayed here in this building from time to time for about a month. Oh, yeah, I can do that too. I didn't know you glimpsed that, Brad. And this gentleman here is my good buddy, Sebastiano Arcidiacono. This one here. Now, Seb's a bit of a legend too. He was actually, so this photo I'd say would have been around 80. See, he hasn't got his black belt. Mark has. So, but it doesn't look like a Hombu black belt. So it might have been just so this is around 88, 89, I'd say. Yeah, 1988, 89. But Sebastian Arcidiacono is still a good buddy. He's a Kyokushin second or third dan, ran dojos for years. But before he came to Australia, he was the Italian judo champion in his age division as a kid. So how about that? He's got some history too. Oh, how about that, Big G? Yeah. So Matsui, when Matsui came out in '88, and that photo may very well have been when Matsui was there. It was a great time. I'm just looking through that crowd to see who else is there. That's my good buddy Yuri Manninen. This one here behind Mark. Yuri, he's now he's still training. He lives back in Finland. And this fella here, good old Henry. See this one? When I was training for the Fourth World Tournament, I used to come into the city and start training 5 days a week. This is before Uchideshi, before this dojo actually, because I moved into this dojo at the very beginning of '88. And before that, I was at the YMCA in Ann Street. And when I was getting ready for the World Tournament, the '87 World Tournament, that's where I was doing all my training at the dojo in YMCA in Ann Street. We had some interesting times there, I tell you. People used to walk in and walk out with a different attitude. But anyway, the deal was that I'd meet some of the students, and there were no black belts. It was just me, mostly green belts. Mike Whitten, I think, was my most senior student. He was a green belt. It was still the power and strength of this beautiful Margaret Street dojo hadn't started yet. You know, Gary O'Neill, I think, was about a year away from starting to train. And so what had happened is the deal was that the students would meet me at 6 a.m. in the morning at Margaret Street at the YMCA dojo, and then we train. We used to train hard, man. And then the next week there were like 5, and then the week after that there were 2, and then the week after that there was no one except Henry. And Henry had this beautiful guy, had a big gap in his teeth. And I'd turn up at 6 o'clock, and I got to tell you, sometimes I was bleary-eyed and tired too, because the night before we'd had such a hard session. But I'd get into town, I'd ride my bicycle into town I lived out at a place called Ashgrove, and 100% of the time, Henry was there, with his big toothy grin, and he really trained hard with me. Yeah, that's right. We had some interesting attitude adjustments went on there. That's for sure, Tigray. Us, good morning from Madrid. Yeah, I guess it is morning there too. Yeah, so interesting times. But anyway, that's a great photo. And this dojo was also where Wally Schnaubelt and Gary O'Neill started their Uchideshi training. It was at this dojo. I'm going to pull out a photo of that as well. Here we go. This is also from the book. I may have showed you already. This is, I mentioned Gillian Farmer, the lady who is Dr. Gillian Farmer, who's now the head of the medical division in the United Nations. She's the United Nations medical director since 2012. So this is in the same dojo. See that photo down the bottom there is Gillian doing her Shodan grading. She went through 3 or 4 boards there. 3 thick boards too. Good on her. And there you go. There's Wally Schnaubelt and Gary O'Neill on the first day of their Uchideshi. Have their head shaves. And that's them a few years later when they came 2nd and 6th in the All Japan Championship. And actually Wally also, I'm not too sure if he got Tameshi Wadi, the breaking award that year. He got it at the World Championship. He got it at the 6th World Tournament. And then, so there you go, a bit of history at this dojo right here. And so it's pretty exciting. But these are great pics from the book. Got some fantastic photos going back. There's one particular fellow I mentioned last time up here in this photo, the gentleman who's not in a gi. See him there? I'll see if I can zoom in. That's Kobayashi Yo. Kobayashi Yo was the professional photographer assigned by his publishing company to travel with Solsai. So he was always with Solsai. And he took all the great photos you see of Solsai and all the great tournament photos going back to the late 70s, all the way until Solsai passed away. And I haven't seen him for a while. Last time I saw him was at Mrs. Oyama's funeral, and he was very, very, emotional about that because he'd been with that family for many years. So I'm going to do a really short one today. If you've got any questions, that's great. But I'm just going to read you one section. And this section is, let me just tip it this way so I can blow it up a little bit. Oh, Brad, you wanted to talk about that photo, didn't you? If I remember, I'll definitely do that. But on this section I'm going to talk about is the last words of Masoyama. So I translated this into English. This was Masoyama's last public address at the Hombu Dojo on the 15th of March, 1994. So as you know, that's only a few weeks before he passed away. It was on the occasion of the graduation ceremony of his beloved Wakaji, the young lions, Uchideshi, living students. Now, at that ceremony, I'm fairly certain, were Judd Reed and Nick Pettis. So they were right there. So maybe, I don't know how good, I mean, Nick's Japanese is fluent now, but I don't know how good it was then. But anyway, this is the words of Solsai. These are the words of Solsai. Whoops, I just accidentally turned it off somehow. These are the words of Solsai in his last public address. What have I done? Here we go. One of Oyama's greatest joys, in fact, what he considered to be a sacred duty, was training with his beloved Uchideshi. When in Tokyo, Oyama would train with him 3 times a week. His last training session on the day he was hospitalized, just 3 days before his passing, was with his Uchideshi. To them he gave all. So these are his words. All is based on filial piety. That is the spirit of Budo. I must be, that's what I'm doing. I'm hitting the on and off button, sorry. If you truly wish to express your sense of filial piety, and filial piety is, it's an unusual term. It's English, but it means the love and respect you show to your parents. And it's the concept which is Confucianist in nature, so they call it filial piety. You must be prepared to become even greater than your parents. These are Solsai's words to his graduating Uchideshi. The highest expression of filial piety is to become greater, stronger, more remarkable than your parents. Never forget this truth. To be weak, constantly unwell, or always getting injured, these are the cause of a parent's greatest concern. The parent feels the injury or illness as much as the child. That is the nature of a loving parent. So this is why the basic philosophy of Kyokushin is consideration of others based on a sense of filial piety. Us, Paddy, good to see you, man. Filial piety is most important. I cannot stress enough how important it is to respect and love your parents wholeheartedly. I am now 70. Of course, I have children, a wife, even a housekeeper. Yet to this day, I have never allowed anyone else to wash my underwear, and my doggy goes without saying. My doggy is my life. Of course, I alone must keep it clean. It is unthinkable that my wife would wash it for me. I wash my own doggy, my own underwear. After eating, I tidy up myself. This is very important. My wife's looking at me at the moment. You all join Kyokushin to achieve your full potential as men, to become as strong as possible. But as I said last night, strength is not something I can give you. Strength is something gained through your own efforts. Similarly, you can only thank your parents that you were born well and able. They can give you a healthy body and mind, but they cannot give you your happiness. Do you think if a parent gave a child all the money they wanted, happiness is guaranteed? Of course not. Happiness is something which can only be realized yourself. The same applies to karate training. The deeper secrets of Budo can only be understood through one's own training efforts. As I have often said in the martial arts, without real experience, there is no proof. Without proof, there is no trust. Without trust, there is no respect. You must strive to become trustworthy men, and to this end, you must become strong. This simple truth is most important. In one subtle sense, you can be seen as dropouts from society. You have dropped out of the mainstream of society, so you choose the noble path of Kyokushin karate. Perhaps you hope that through your efforts in training, you can make some sort of recovery. That alone is a sufficient and worthy aspiration. I want you to make the effort to surpass even your most successful friends so that they come to respect you as a fine, honorable man. All your disciplined training as a wakajishi, a young lion, all your efforts come down to one thing: how you conduct your life as a man, as a warrior. March boldly forward into life, armed with all you have learned here, and never forget how proud you feel to be an uchideshi, a young lion. And I've devoted a chapter in the book to that. You can see how much emphasis he placed on filial piety and also on being of service to others. To him, that was central, and he had some karate students who were always very strong, but the rest of their life was a little bit scattered. So he always respected the people who were considerate, who were always respectful of their parents, and who had a sense of service to other people. So it was nice. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. And you know, that beautiful. There's another section. How about I read that too? I may have read it already, but let me just go through here. The name and also Solso's signature. So I may have mentioned that, and what I've done here is Solso's signature had that little squiggle at the end. So I explained how that works. But there's Solso explained this to me. I'm just going to read a little part at the end here. He said he wrote the kanji. So that kanji at the top is the kanji for lion, shishi. So wakajishi, the young lions. And then down the bottom, he wrote it gradually. So it went from the kanji for shishi to it looked like a flower. And he explained as he wrote the kanji in neat printing style that it meant shishi or lion, as in the wakajishi. He then wrote it again in a more flowing style, two more times, the kanji for lion, transforming into a stylized flower. I have roughly reproduced how he wrote them here. And then Solso said, this describes the spirit of the karateka, because of my Clark's comment. Well, Clarence, good to see you. Oh yeah, I think you're right, and it's funny you say that, Paul Higginson. In Japan, he had a lot of supporters and fans who weren't even karate people. They just used his philosophy of life, to live their life. So you're right. This describes the spirit of the karateka, to be as strong as a lion with yourself, but as gentle as a flower when dealing with others. Strength without kindness is violence. Kindness without strength is impotent. To be as giving as a flower, you have to be like a lion within too. In this way, every time Solso signed his name, it was an affirmation, a reminder to himself and to others of the true spirit of Kyokushin. Many years earlier, I had read very similar words in the timeless autobiography of a yogi. The author, Paramahansa Yogananda, had described the nature of his own yoga master, Sri Yukteswar, by saying he fitted the Vedic definition of a man of God, softer than a flower where kindness is concerned, stronger than thunder where principles are at stake. Despite superficial differences, the highest form of yoga, Raj Yoga, and the deepest spiritual objectives of Budo karate present no conflict. They are one. The almost identical nature of these words encourage my own conviction of that fact and strongly contribute to this book being born. So I remember this the similarity between Yogananda's words and Solsai's words at that time were really quite striking, and I think it's a very very profound thing. It wasn't uncommon for people to do this. I was going to put a few more. This is Solsai's kanji. This one here is what he wrote in his when he'd signed his name. In fact, if I go back to where he's actually signed his name in the book, you'll see it. See, so see, he signed his name, and you see the kanji at the end of it. In Japanese, that's called a kao. Ka is flower, o is oshi, as in os, kao. And what it means is like a flower chop or a flower seal. And it was a very common practice. In fact, it still is, because Japanese signatures are very easy to copy. So this is why they use the seal, because kanji are very easy to copy. So by using a seal, a chop, and you might remember that Willie's added my chop. I've got a couple of chops, but he's added my chop here. See, he wrote that down the bottom there. That's my little chop with the cam written on it. So that holds more authenticity for signatures. In Japan, if you want to do a transaction with the bank, you need your chop. But without a chop, signatures often are easy to copy. So they would do these kao, these things at the end. And I've even got copies at home of Miyamoto Musashi's kao and Yamaoka Teshu's kao. Very interesting to see how, because obviously if you're going to put a chop or a seal like that after your name, well, then it'd want to be something that you feel is important. Big G, I'm just really excited. I mean, Brad Hansen, who's here, he had the opportunity to look through it. Just going to pause because that says it's unstable. I don't know, how's that stability? But anyway, Brad had looked through it. He very graciously, kindly did some great proofreading on it. And I really think we've got a great book in the making. So that's good. Yeah, it's a big deal. I'm looking forward to myself too, to have it in my hands. About the Yogananda, it's a nice book. I don't finish it yet, but it's very important to read about that. Yeah, I think so. So the book, a number of people are helping me with translating the book into Polish, Spanish. We're even looking at Italian, right, Tigray? Portuguese, even perhaps Russian. And one of the things that I try to encourage people who are helping with the translation to read is Yogananda's book. You know, Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi was very profoundly influenced in my life, and Masoyama had 2 copies of it on his bookshelf. I think that's interesting. He was very much in yoga, into the yoga philosophy, and even he said, which I found very interesting, how he said that in terms of the Shingi Tai, the spirit, the technique, and the body, he said the Shin part of Shingi Tai is predominantly from India. The Gi part or technique part of Shingi Tai is predominantly from China, and the Tai, the physical training part, as done in Japan, is predominantly from Japan. So that was very interesting. But anyway, let me just open this book. Whoop. That's the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. And all the translators who helped me with my book, I asked them to read that first because it gives them a much clearer insight concerning the philosophy of India as it applies to martial arts through the Shingi Tai. you have a spare time, would it be great to read about your life and the intriguing stories you have from it? Yeah, look, my life is actually pretty ordinary. Hey, Shannon, good to see you, man. My good buddy Shannon there. He trained with me. Shannon, you're not going to believe it where we are, Shannon. Right now, my wife and I are staying in Brisbane, and we're staying at a hotel that is built on top of 214 Margaret Street Dojo. So you see Shannon there, everybody? Shannon goes back a while, and he was training with me back in the old Margaret Street Dojo days. I don't see him very often. Last time we caught up was a few years ago in New York, would you believe? Because Shannon now lives in New Jersey. Jersey. My mother's got a coffee shop in Toyton 20 Toy down in Jersey. Okay, so that's Shannon. Good to see you, man. And thanks for coming along. Mark, yeah, honestly, my life is really, I can sum it up in one sentence. I just happen to have been in the right place at the right time. You know, other than that, it's just really quite a pretty ordinary old life. Yeah, fine for mine now. Good. So cool. Yeah, it is. And check this out, Shannon. You know, we're talking about my new book, Shannon, of the reprint. And there's some photos, but I'll just remember, look, Wally and Gary up there. Shannon trained with them. Shannon came along and joined in. He was a black belt in another style, and he was one of the guys who had the courage to step up to our hard training, and I think we did train pretty hard in those days. But look at this, Shannon. You'll enjoy this photo. You remember that room. Check that out. I showed everyone before. So there's Mark saying, One Arm Eddie. That was the Margaret Street Dojo that you used to train at, Shannon, and that's right here where I am right now. So it's very cool to have that connection. So anyway, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed hearing Solsai's last words. I certainly I enjoyed translating them. Yep. Every now and then we do 1,000. I think once a month we do 1,000 kicks and 1,000 punches, and then we'd all go up to JoJo's and have a bite to eat. Anyway, they were good days, Shannon. Shannon's had an interest. I tell you now, Marco, if you want an interesting life, I'd say Shannon's had a much more interesting life than me because he spent many years on the road with. He tells me who the band was that he was looking after, but I can never remember because I'm not a band kind of guy. But anyway, he was touring with quite a well-known band. What was the name of that band, Shannon, that you toured with for 15 years or so? Foreigner. There you go. Has anyone heard of the group called Foreigner? I'm not really familiar with them. But anyway, Shannon was their main man for 15 years or so. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Was it 5 years? I'm not too sure, Shannon. You could let us know. But anyway, good to see your name pop up there. Thanks. The book. Yeah, good on you. 70s and 80s rock band were they? Yeah, 16 years. There you go. I want to know what love is. Is that the one? You know you can. I don't know the words. But anyway, yeah, there you go. It was a great song. Good on you. So anyway, folks, appreciate you coming along. I just wanted to share that with you, that the book progress is so good, and I'm really happy with it. And Brad Hansen, whose name popped up there, appreciate you very much. His input was valuable to the nth degree because he picked up, see, when you write, and Mike Lorden knows, and Mike Clark knows, and anyone who's written a book, you read it over and over, you literally skip whole sentences because you've read it so often, you expect it, you know what it's there, so you don't need, so you get fresh eyes onto it, and Brad's eyes were just perfect. So he picked up little things that even as I'm looking at it, I couldn't see. Thanks again, Arigato gozaimashita. Thanks, Paul, Mike. I was going to go out and get singing lessons and come back and do a whole foreigner gig. I'll do a whole live stream, Mike. Us, Chrissy? Yeah, thanks. Let me know. Us, merci beaucoup, mon ami. Thank you very much. Everybody, us, enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you Monday with my good buddy the monster, 6'5", Chris Bangay, who's grappling tears him up. He's a white belt, and he goes and visits other clubs, and they go, "What's going on here? We're brown belts and purple belts," and he just smashes them all. Good on you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Us.